So I got all the new shims for the counter shaft and the main shaft. So that's all re-shimmed, nice now. Hardly any play in anything at all. The end float's gone out of the clutch basket. The main problem I found with it was, obviously the bearings were shot, but the clutch, I could never adjust the clutch properly on it. It always got to a point where you had to have it loaded.
Yeah.
But what it was, if you look here, that is your clutch actuator, yeah? So when you pull your cable, pushes down on that, opens your clutch basket to free the clutch.
Yeah.
Okay? And what it was, you see that brass spacer I've machined up, that is the wrong oil seal for an H2C. That's for an H2A or an H2B.
Okay.
Okay? So when you're actuating that, I'll take that out in a minute. When you're actuating that, the way it works, if you look at that, that works on a spiral, yeah? So as you press that down, pushes the rod that way. Okay? Push rod goes all the way through the main shaft. Sorry, counter shaft. Pushes on a mushroom in there, so that opens your clutch up, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, what it was doing, because that oil seal is the wrong oil seal,
Yeah.
as that's drawing itself in, it was hitting that oil seal.
Okay.
So you weren't getting enough movement on your clutch arm. Okay? So, the only way around it because you can't get the oil seals. So whatever you do, you've had it because you can't get the right bits. You could probably change that actuator for an H2A or B because it's a different actuator. This works with ball bearings inside. So what was happening is that is screwed to your casing, that pushes your clutch rod, yeah?
Yeah.
With an adjuster on the end. What it was doing, I've had to machine off this area because that was the wrong oil seal. I took about, well, that thickness. It's about 3.5mm. Because that was doing that, when you were actuating that, it was hitting that oil seal, so you're not getting your, it was just binding.
Okay.
So to get it to work, I had to adjust the clutch up, yeah, so it was always under pressure. You should have free play on your clutch lever, just a tiny bit of free play, yeah? Couldn't do it because it wouldn't pull the clutch in far enough to operate it because it was hitting that. So I was going to space that off of the casing that way, but then it puts your cable alignment out, so I didn't want to do that. So machined off this face, that's located in there, you can't get that in the wrong place. Moved that oil seal over your 3.5–4mm, machined up that brass ring to go in there so that that clears that, yeah?
Yeah.
So there's nothing going to hit that at all. That fits in there. So your whole space is taken up, so you know your casing's nice and tight.
Yeah.
And that then operates the clutch properly.
Okay.
So, not really a bodge, it's getting your way around things when you can't get the parts.
Yeah.
You know, because that's an H2A or H2B oil seal. The other one has got a recess that went into that hole there before I machined it down, but you can't get them. So we've had to make good what we got. So assembled the clutch, assembled all the new bearing spacers and bearings onto the main shaft and the counter shaft. I've got to take it apart again to put the lock tabs on the gear selector forks. So I just put it together with a couple of springs for the moment, so it's nice and easy to test. Right, so now that's your push rod. You've got a ball bearing in there with your push rod. Your ball bearing. Push rod can stay in there. So now, noise wise, it's a bit different, isn't it?
Considerably.
So that's in neutral there. So like I say, these are now shimmed up properly. It's not all moving around all over the place where it was all chattering and God knows what. Let's get that clutch basket off. That's your clutch in a basket. Oh, it's still on there. I thought I'd lost the washer. Still on there. Okay, so it's all nice and free.
Yeah.
Neutral. Keep turning it. First, second, third, fourth, fifth will take this under load, you just spin that, and then you got fifth. Got to remember the engine's revving at 1500 RPM or whatever just to get it. So fourth, third, second, first, neutral. So when you're in neutral, you can hold that shaft there, turn that so the engine's running. All good. So replaced every single shim in there, every bearing. Bit different, isn't it?
Totally. Different beast.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's just different ball game, you know.
Totally.
And I've checked it with all of the shafts done up. Previous, it takes any play out of any of that. But you know, you've got no movement on it at all. That one will always move because you've got the free play on the bearing until that pin's locked in.
Yeah. So
when that's tight, yeah, all really nice that. So I'm very pleased with that, the way that's come out. Obviously, this will all have to be cleaned again before it goes in. Right, so I've got to put my lock tabs on these. Yeah, 14mm. Huh? But generally, this was all bashed up, so I've draw filed all of that to make sure that's all smooth. You can see the way they had that oil seal in the wrong way round and it was pressing against it because it was the wrong one. So now all of that works, which is another one, you know, half the battle. The problems you find as you get into things, you know.
that's it.
Take the cover plate off of there. So we'll just put this back together with the lock tabs on and make sure it's all still working. Flat screwdriver. So now we can undo that one, and that will let us rotate our barrel so we can get to that one. Otherwise you can't get to it. Right, we've got our little lock tabs. They clearly go over that side. Put it over that side because you don't want your lock tab interfering with the other fork, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. What did I do with my socket? It's nice and tight. Let's lock our tabs off. Right, that's that one in. So he goes down the bottom like that. Another lock tab. He goes that way so it doesn't clash with anything. Got to make sure they're in the grooves, yeah.
Yep.
See. Right, he's locked over. And we've got to get that one in its groove, which is there. Lock tab that way. Nice and tight. Right, lock tab's over. We'll put that back in its position. Put our guide back in. That should be in neutral. I think that was the right way. Put a shifter arm in, or shifter lock arm that is. It's not the shifter arm's bigger than that. Cover plate, all that cover plate does is just stop those pins coming out.
Okay.
The sliding pins. We have to take it off to get all of that out. That should be that way, I think. I think that's neutral. Let's put our shafts back in and have a looky see. Yeah, that's neutral, so you've got to pick your forks up and get them in the right place. That one's out, so that's alright. That's in its bearing there, rotate that. Should drop in there nicely, all nice and smooth. You've got to make sure, like, when it's in its neutral position, you don't want any of these dogs touching, clashing, being too tight. Any of that. You want nice free play between it all. And that one should just drop into its dog. It's not quite in properly there, so that's in. Rotate that, so that's in. There we are, back in neutral. First, second, third, fourth, fifth is always a bit of a quirky one because it's all spinning itself up, and fifth. Got good engagement on all the dogs. Fourth, nice engagement. Third, second, first, and back to neutral. So pleased with that. But I want to take all of this, just clean the casings out nicely.
So there's quite a few comments over the last couple of videos to deal with this. Any little pointers that helped at all? Anything that you...
Yeah, apparently they're noisy all the time. But that was it. It was excessive noise, you know. It's noisy. I can understand straight cut, dog cut gears being noisy, but it was too noisy, you know, in my personal opinion. Again, customers looking to sell the bike, so you don't want to, you know, you've got a horrible noise and you pull the clutch in and the noise goes away, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
So it needed addressing, but that is so much quieter, it's ridiculous. So yeah, comment about the fuel tap, that's always handy to know. See, my way of thinking, it should have a spring in it, but I'll have a look at all the drawings and find out, because vacuum from the engine pulls the diaphragm out, which then lets fuel flow.
Yeah.
So with no vacuum, it should suck back in, be pushed back in with a spring. Maybe the spring that's in it is too weak and doesn't seal it off, because the chances of it being all, I mean, I put a new diaphragm in the fuel tap and everything, doesn't mean it's correct factory spec rubber, spring, who knows, it could be anything, you know. So just have a play around with that. But apart from that, I'm happy to clean all this up, reassemble it all, change the nuts. Like I said, you don't put stainless nuts on steel threads, it just doesn't work. So get all this tidied up, nail it all back together and bung it in the bike.